I thought this was a camp that you were doing for Daniel Cormier. I thought this went into your family's bank account. You're saying you're doing this as a fundraiser. You're giving it back to the program, the community, to Gilroy. That is outstanding. That's why they call you the good guy. I'd have found a way to pocket some of it. All right, guys, welcome into another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I'm Chael, he's Daniel. Daniel, I got one question for you. What you gonna do when we run wild on you?
Chael, I gotta be honest. I'm surprised that your energy is this high knowing what we just found out with Hulk Hogan. Hey, it's sad, man. Chael, you were the biggest Hulkamaniac. I was not a Hulkamaniac. I was a Macho Man. I liked the madness. I was part of Macho Madness, and he never beat Hulk. But Hulk Hogan passed away today, guys. And what do you say, Chael? I mean, I heard the stories. I heard the stories that Hulk was very sick. Family members were going to visit him. But it was hard for me to comprehend when I just saw him in Orlando with you guys. And then I just saw him on Ariel's show with Izzy Martinez and Eric Bischoff announcing a new wrestling league. How does it all happen so fast, man? Like, it's sad that Hulk Hogan has passed. And we want to talk a little bit, Chael, about Hulk Hogan, the wrestler, the guy that we remember growing up and all the way through the 90s.
Daniel, I went to see him live. And so my dad was buying us tickets. So I go down to the ticketing place. It was called Ticketmaster, and they had a schematics of the arena. So my dad made sure we were right on the aisle so that we could reach out and touch him. And he was doing a program with Andre the Giant. So this is a house show. I get to see Hogan versus Andre. And me and my buddy Justin, Hogan comes walking past us. Everything's going as planned. He's right here. I reach out to touch him. Daniel, I missed. I don't know how I missed. I missed. I did not get to touch him. And, as an 11-year-old kid, this was the most exciting thing. Fast forward to December of last year. I'm cornering Colby Covington. Colby's going to have Hulk Hogan be part of the walkout. Hulk comes in the locker room. So now the guy I wanted to touch, all of a sudden, I'm working with. All of a sudden, we're in the room together. Hulk walks in and Colby says, all right, when the camera comes on in the tunnel, I want you out front, Hulk. I want you out front with the flag. We're going to follow you. You're going to lead us to the ring. Hulk said, I appreciate it, brother, but you're going too far. This is not my night. This is your night. I stand behind you. And I just thought from a leadership standpoint of egos and of locker rooms that would really like to be part of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, I thought that was really good leadership. That's my one and only Hulk story. But I thought I'd share it with you.
I remember being a kid that would watch. You should hear my audio a little better now. I finally got it figured out, Chael. It's unbelievable that you and I have been doing this show this long and we still have technical difficulties every single week because nothing moves. But I remember when I saw you walking out with Hulk Hogan, knowing that you enjoy Hulk Hogan the way that you do. And I was watching as you guys were coming because I said, I got to see his face. I knew you were going to be so giddy walking in with Hulk Hogan, and you were. There was this little boy. You look like the 9-year-old kid. Sometimes you can see a friend, and you can see him as the younger version of himself. You look like that guy walking out, trying to keep a straight face, knowing you were going to corner Colby, but you were getting to hang with Hulk Hogan. What I remember about Hulk Hogan is this. There was a time in the 80s when we were growing up where he was on everything. He was like a superstar because at that point we didn't know. We weren't calling it sports entertainment. We were just calling it sports. He was any place in the world that dude could probably go and people be like, oh my God, that's Hulk Hogan. It doesn't matter. He was that big. He was the biggest thing that's ever come to wrestling. And I don't know if we still have seen a star bigger than Hulk Hogan. Maybe The Rock because of how much he's crossed over. But I don't know that anyone's ever made as much of an impact as Hulk Hogan did. And then he goes bad guy, Chael, in WCW. And he's an even better bad guy than he was as the red and yellow Hulk Hogan. When you think about Hulk Hogan, just the wrestler, you have nothing but praise for him because of what he was and what he meant to sports entertainment.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan, the man, is a very confusing thing. And you know what? I don't really know anything about it. He stayed in character so much. He was one of those old school guys. He always had the blonde hair. He always had the look. Hey, I was on a bus. My final story, Daniel, but to personalize, I was on a bus ran by Secret Service. So we had to go through x-rays just to get on the bus. Then they pull the entire bus in front of an x-ray. Then the Secret Service gets on, and it was like good cop, bad cop. One guy was very nice and told us where to sit. Then this other guy gets on and says, if any of you move from your seat, if any of you, I'll throw you out and you'll be gone and you won't come back. It was kind of this tough talk. He gives this real tough heel talk, and then he catches himself. The little boy in him comes out and he goes, "You're the man, Hulkster." And he walks off the bus. The guy broke character just to pay Hulk that compliment. So at any rate, you said you didn't know why I was in a good mood. Daniel, you got a couple of ways to look at it, and you can mourn it, and that will come, but you can also have a celebration. You can have a celebration of a guy's life and achievements. And I tell you, we're all going to go out at some point, but I don't know if all of us are going to get a segment on ESPN for it. So he must have been a pretty good character.
Hey, chill. We were in a place last week in New Orleans where they celebrate your life with like parades and parties. So I understand.
For 70 years, every single day, Disneyland has honored veterans with an American tradition.
Disney is dedicated to the ideals and the dreams that have created America.
Thank you, Walt. I'm delighted to be here for this happy occasion.
This is where heroes work. This is where veterans are celebrated. This is Disney.
But chill. This show is about mixed martial arts, and this show is about fighting. Finally, we got some fighting, and we got some clarity as to what the rest of the year is going to look like. Ankalaev gets booked against Pereira, too, right? Hey, you remember earlier in the summer, Alex kind of threw that fit because it seemed like he was retired. He was really pissed off at the UFC, and then he said he got hacked. Didn't get hacked. He was pissed because they probably tried to give somebody else that fight for a moment, and then they realized they got smart and said, we don't want to piss off Poatan. This guy's been golden for us in regards to stepping up and fighting. But he's plus 150 against Ankalaev, and Ankalaev's minus 180. Chill, I got a question. Are you surprised at the line being that close? Because what we saw in the first fight, it didn't seem like Alex had much for him in regards to answers for stopping Ankalaev from pressing him up against the octagon.
It was a hard fight, and I will tell you that Alex won the first round. That's according to the judges, not just according to me. And then he proceeded to lose the next four. Listen, when that contest was over, I didn't think that any reasonable analysis could come to the conclusion that if they did it again, we would get a different outcome. There was also a little bit of a resistance by the fight. This was billed a little bit differently. It seemed like the UFC was on board, but it was Ankalaev that was going and picking the fight with Alex. It was Ankalaev that was challenging him, calling him out. And I only wonder, generally when a fighter will do that when he's the champion, when the champion starts calling somebody out, particularly a guy that he just beat, it's because his own social media, his own world, the bubble that he lives in, people are disputing it. People are telling, hey, you couldn't do it again. Hey, Alex was hurt. Hey, he fought 4 times in 9 months. Try doing it again. Something like that must have happened to Ankalaev. So I think that the audience perhaps saw it a little bit different than I did. But a lot of times I learned something from the audience. So I'm very open to this idea. But Daniel, how are we going to get Pereira to heavyweight? That's my question. And when he moved up to 205, people kind of misremember this. They think he ran through 85 so much we'll let him go. But that's actually wrong. He lost. He lost is the reason that he was able to move up. And I only share with you, if he loses to Ankalaev, I believe he will be a heavyweight. But I just believe that's the spot we're in right now. He just lost to Ankalaev. He doesn't have a belt. I kind of wanted to see him up a division.
I think that this is the fight that needs to happen. Pereira deserves a chance to try to right that wrong, especially after what he did in his title reign. Sure, he wasn't the champion for a very long time, right? He won the belt against Yuri, defended against Jamal, defended against Khalil. I think that's it, and then he got beat. But doesn't matter. He was doing so well, and he's fighting so frequently that he deserves an opportunity. And he's one of the biggest stars the UFC has. Now, I'll spin it like this. I think, as you said, it didn't feel like there was going to be much of a difference. But what did feel different was Alex wrestled much better than we expected him to. He defended takedowns much better than we expected him to. He was not ground to the ground. Now it's up to him, Plinio and Glover, and we have seen him come up with game plans before, to make it to where Alex can actually go get it done and not get pressed against the octagon. That's where the difference has to happen, Chill. He wasn't taken down, but he was controlled. So he was controlled in the clinch last time. He was backed up the entire time. How does he move forward without Ankalaev actually pressing into him? I think he needs to get some respect from him very early, Chael, to make Ankalaev take a few steps back. Because right now, Ankalaev has been in there with him, and he'll have more confidence that he can handle the power of Pereira than he did going into fight one. The unknown is the scariest thing in fighting. Man, everybody this guy hits, he puts down or he bludgeons them. Now he knows he went 25 minutes and that didn't happen to him. So imagine the confidence that comes with that. How does Pereira get that respect early to make sure that this fight doesn't play out exactly like the last one did?
That was an excellent analysis by you. I enjoyed that very much. Now, let's break this down just real fast. One of the reasons that Pereira had success with stopping the takedowns is he was moving backwards. And one thing about that in a wrestling match, from a wrestling standard, if a guy backs up, it's illegal. And the reason that it's illegal is no wrestling can really take place if one guy is going backwards. So I only share with you, right? Pierre was moving backwards to deflect those takedowns. However, if Pierre wants to beat him, he's got to pressure him and he's got to go after him. So he's got a little bit of a catch-22. He could meet in the middle. As opposed to going forward or going back, he could try going sideways. But I'm only suggesting, well, we watched it and it was very clear when Pierre had his best moments, he was the one charging. While that's true, for 25 straight minutes, he was going back as a little bit of a defense to wrestling. And I think that's, we talk about the advantage that Pierre will gain because the mask is off. He can now game plan and know what he's getting into. But the other side of the coin is true as well. There's also things that Ankalaev learned in that fight. There's also positions that Ankalaev thought, well, if I could go back here, I could have more success. So for me, it's a little bit of a wash. And I am happy to see that Pierre took the fight. I am happy to know that Pierre wanted the fight. That was something that I had in question. Unk was coming after him so hard and the UFC was on board and Pierre seemed to be the last one to the table. I would like to know what's in his heart and what's in his mind, because when he's motivated, I think he's as good as any fighter that ever did it.
Absolutely. I like that, Ciryl. You're right. It's hard to score on a dude that's stalling. Squared stance and backing up is the way to stop takedowns. And if that was the game plan, very smart. How do they tweak it now, though? Because if he does go forward, more opportunities will present themselves for him to be taken down. But dang, Ciryl, that was good, man. Yeah, that was real good, Ciryl. I like that. Yo, we're cooking today. You know how those kids go, they do like this? Oh, we're cooking. We're cooking. I'm trying to do some of this. Hey, I've been trying to tap in to the younger audience. So, like, I'm at my camp now, and one dude might get a takedown. I'm all, oh, he's eating. And I'm doing stuff. Ciryl, I'm like, he's eating. And I'm like, oh, he's cooking. Everything I see rappers do now, I'm trying to do. Because you know the other day when you and I were saying, what? Yeah. And I said, black guys just say sup. Well, the ultimate black guy, Mike Perry, goes, no, we don't. He said, Mike Perry goes, we cool black guys don't say sup. I was like, this dude, Mike Perry's crazy.
He said there's so much happening there. I love it. By the way, there's a rumor going around Oregon. Did you buy a commercial convention oven so you could cook 100 pieces of chicken in 15 minutes?
How did you know that?
There was a rumor going around that you're feeding 280 kids a couple of meals a day right now.
Yeah, bro. Three meals a day.
How? I mean, by the time you buy the oven and the space.
Chill, think about this, though. Think about this. Chill, we have a massive travel budget with my school, right? So we go all these big tournaments around the country, but we're in an area where the money doesn't come in. The people don't have as much. So what we do is I do these big camps, right? I have the building. It's my building, no housing costs. The kids do like we did as kids. They bring the rolling mats and they sleep on the mats, or they sleep, like that. And if we feed them, we're only using food cost. And so then this camp will take care of all of our travel for the entire year for Gilroy High School and my academy. It's the way to do it. But yes, I bought a convection oven because you're cooking like the food like super fast now. It's better.
How is it though, by the way? I mean, can you get a crispy piece of chicken? Can you season it? Does it still taste good, or is it like made chicken fat?
You season it, it cooks it, and then you put the sauce on it. Right? So if you're doing teriyaki chicken, once the chicken's done, you put the teriyaki sauce on the chicken. The kids love the meals at my camp. They say I have the best food in all camps in the summer. So come out to Daniel Cormier's Mid-Cals Wrestling Camp next summer, guys. We have 2 of them. Chill. 430 kids this summer came to our camp in the 2 camps. 170 in camp
I got to tell you the thing I'm impressed with. what I'm most impressed with, and I just learned it right now, I thought this was a camp that you were doing for Daniel Cormier. I thought this went into your family's bank account. You're saying you're doing this as a fundraiser. You're giving it back to the program, the community, to Gilroy. That is outstanding. That's why they call you the good guy. I'd have found a way to pocket some of it.
That was the problem. Before I was paying for it out of my own pocket. So now I just ain't got to pay for it no more. Okay. Cory Sandhagen is fighting Merab Dvalishvili. Merab's a minus 380 favorite to Cory Sandhagen's plus 300. It's the right fight. Sandhagen's got an uphill battle, though. He's got to really do some things right to get Merab, right?
Yes, he does, but Sandhagen has made such incredible adjustments. I mean, if you go back and you watch the way that he fought Nurmagomedov, that was not supposed to happen. Sandhagen was not supposed to get 2 rounds. Sandhagen was not supposed to stay off his back. Sandhagen was not supposed to offer an offense in wrestling. To quote Cory Sandhagen, he sucks at wrestling. Those are his own words. Well, partner, that might have been true when he said it 3 years ago. Cory Sandhagen is about as well-rounded as you can get when you're dealing with Merab. You know how you have to fight him, and you know the positions you need to avoid, mainly getting pushed on the fence, getting picked up and put onto your your back. Merab brings a special weapon with that level of conditioning that he has. But to your point, Sandhagen is the right guy, and he earned this. Nobody did Sandhagen a favor. Sandhagen got here the extremely hard way. I'm happy for him, but I do agree with the odds. Merab, favorite.
Cory Sandhagen is live, and Cory Sandhagen's more dangerous to Merab today than he was before because of the fight with Umar. Umar taught him some lessons inside that fight. You don't grow any more than when you lose. When you lose, you have to get better. And it feels like that's what happened with Cory Sandhagen, because when he came back, he looked better than he ever had. And he is the right guy to fight for the championship. And he does present some unique challenges for the champion. Cory Sandhagen is not an easy out. Look, I don't know how you can make anyone that close to Merab right now. Obviously, as time will pass, people start to catch up, you start to age, and the gap starts to close. But right now, with the way Merab is fighting, it seems like any line that favors him and favors him heavily is the right line. Does that mean he's going to win? I don't know. But I'm saying it feels like the right line. And we finally got Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane. Chael, we've been screaming about this Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane for a long time. UFC 321, Tom minus 325, Gane plus 260. We finally got the fight, but the world doesn't seem to believe, Chael, that it's a close fight. And I don't really agree with that line. I think this fight is much closer than Tom Aspinall minus 325, Ciryl Gane plus 265.
Yeah, matchup-wise, it's a big problem. I mean, Tom went and put 6 guys to sleep, and he did it all on his feet. Let me just remind you, Ciryl comes to MMA with a 27-3 kickboxing record. To put that in perspective, Israel Adesanya's was 29-2. He knows what he's doing on his feet. He defended himself just fine against Francis Ngannou. He even offered some offense with Francis Ngannou. Francis then parlays that and goes, toe-to-toe with Tyson Fury. So, yeah, I agree with you. Look, with the way that Tom fights, knocking everybody out, I think he's going to want to go to a different strategy. I think that Ciryl's a real handful on their feet. Can I tell you this? It seems to be, anytime I've seen a guy that the community lifted up, when I see him fall, I can tell with his interviews, because he starts to believe the things that are being said about him. I have found Tom to be very humble. I have found Tom to be very disciplined. Each day since Madison Square Garden, November of last year, Tom has reported to practice at 3 o'clock. He doesn't miss. A lot of those days, he's also getting 1 in the morning. I'm only sharing. Tom is handling this like a real professional, but I do think matchup-wise that, Ciryl's got some real tools that are going to fault anybody. And the bigger tell for me, Daniel, I had a question. Does the company, meaning UFC, do they want to turn the page from Jon Jones? Are they ready to close the chapter of Jon Jones? And the booking of Ciryl says no. If they're willing to book a common opponent to Jon Jones, it still makes Jon very relevant. And it gives Jon the opportunity, by the way, to be viewed as the real champion if Ciryl's to get over on Tom. I'm just sharing.
Yep, I think they
showed us some cards in this one, and they're the right cards. And I think the UFC did the right thing.
Well, that's a problem, because if Ciryl goes over, now you got a real issue with Jon Jones having the ability to start saying, hey, This is the guy you all said I was running from. This is the guy that was supposed to beat me. And why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he do it? I mean, he's justified.
Sure.
But is he? But is he justified? Because it's just a different matchup. Tom has a different skill set than John. I don't know that Tom possesses those submission ability that John Jones does. Obviously, on paper, Tom doesn't have the wrestling that John Jones does. It's a different matchup. Matchup-wise, I think Ciryl Gane matches up much better with Tom Aspinall than he did with John Jones.
Oh, for sure. No, it's a very interesting fight. You want to know what a great poster would be, a really good fight, and I realize it's behind us, but if they would have done Ciryl versus Stipe, I think that's one where we all sit back and be a little bit confused because you can see a path to victory for both guys. One thing that I will tell you with Tom and John, and it's just a quote that I remember John giving to the media, but he said, look, I don't know enough about this Tom. I go and get 6 of his fights together. I only get to see him fight for 8 minutes. I want to see more of him. Have him fight somebody else. And I think that John made a very fair point there because I also haven't seen the takedowns and the ground and pound and the submissions of Tom. I hear about it from Michael Bisping. I hear about it from teammates and they say it's great, but I just think that Ciryl might bring out a different Tom Aspinall, and I'm open to that. I would like to see a couple of positions from Tom aside from just putting people down. As a fan, that would be intriguing for me.
Well, then you can kind of see more of his game. Right now, we know that he can knock people out. Let's see how he does in deep water. But how do you punish a guy for being dominant, right? We want him to be less dominant, when in most cases, you want the heavyweight champion to be the guy that puts people down right away. Well, Tom Aspinall's done that. He's done that time and time again, and he's proven and shown that he's the best. So, I don't know, man. It's a very weird place because I don't think we asked that of anyone else. Possibly because we saw Ilya, right? Ilya's dominant. But we don't ask to see Ilya down the stretch because we haven't had to. Or we haven't, sorry, the 3-round fight. We haven't done that with Tom. That's how dominant this guy has been in the UFC. But to ask him to be less dominant, Chael, that's unfair. You want him to work longer? Who wants to work longer? Chael, what if they told you and I, hey, guys, we're going to take good guy, bad guy to 15 minutes. We're going to maximize YouTube at 8 minutes plus add 8, and we're going to give you the same salary. Would you go, nah, we're fine. We'd rather do it for 45 minutes every week, twice. Would you do that? That's what you're asking Tom to do.
You bring up a very fair point. I'm just, hypothetically, though, if I could change the rules of the match, all of a sudden, Tom and Ciryl are not fighting MMA. All of a sudden, they're going to go out and they're going to fight a boxing match. I think that the odds would change. All of a sudden, hey, I get to change the rules. They're going to do just kickboxing. When you look at Tom's knockouts and you look at the power that he had in MMA, and you got to juxtapose that against a guy that had a 27-3 professional kickboxing record. I just think there's some spots here where, at least on paper, Ciryl can shine. And I do think it'll force Tom to perhaps go to the well and bring up something new.
Yeah, he'll have to do some different things in this fight than he's had to before. It's exciting, though. But it kind of leaves 2 fight cards without main events. We got New York City, and we have the end-of-the-year event in December. Now, we don't have Volkanovski, Yair isn't announced, Ilya versus whoever, Kayla, Amanda, Pantoja, Josh Van, Islam, and Della Maddalena and Valentina fighting Weili. So there are championship fights. So how do they play out? I think Islam fights in November. That one to me feels like a home run, and it feels like the stage is already being set for that. So I believe that one happens in November. I think December is the one we have to really kind of sort out, because I don't know that Ilya is going to want to fight again this year. And I thought Amanda has to be in the testing pool for a while before she's eligible to fight.
I've also been a little unclear on Amanda and her testing pool. I've also wondered that same thing. From the day that was announced, there was always kind of an earmarked whispers behind the scenes that would go down in December. Now, you said something very interesting, which is Islam in New York. I don't believe that Islam is a co-main event anymore. And I don't believe that Jack is a co-main event anymore. So that would mean that if they fought in November at Madison Square Garden, they would headline. And I think that's a big compliment. And by the way, I think they can do it. I think that is a very a big fight. But it does feel as though the UFC's got a couple of aces, and I love it. I love the fight announcements. I love when Dana pops in from the war room and he goes, "Here's the matches you're going to get." It's very fun, and I think, yeah, you're right. The rest of the year, don't forget. I mean, the storylines are getting set up right now. Like Tom versus Ciryl isn't necessarily the fight. That's kind of the checkers move. What that fight would then lead to, what that fight would then draw into, or the way that could motivate John Jones to come back. There's a lot of moving parts. That's a very transitional heavyweight fight, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I agree with you on all those fronts. I think that they're not co-main events. Islam and them can't co-main event. They're going to headline a card. I think they headline Madison Square Garden. I believe that Volk, who is just itching to fight, will either be the co-main event there or the co-main event in December. No, stop. I'm going to go Valentina versus Wei Li in November in New York, right? She's Japanese or Chinese? Wei Li's Chinese.
Wei Li comes from China, yes.
Yeah, she's Chinese. And Valentina is Russian, but Kyrgyzstan. There's big communities there in New York. It's one of the biggest cities in the country. Obviously, it's a melting pot of cultures. Then in December, by not putting Volkanovski on November, if something goes wrong, he can headline December, right? We know Volk can headline. We've seen him in co-main events, but we also know he can headline come December if he needs to. So I think you do that, and then you put Pantoja versus Van underneath Volkanovski. Worst case, best case, it's Volk versus Yair, Amanda versus Kayla to end the year. Josh Van Pantoja gets pushed to the beginning of 2026.
Hey, we're just rolling out matches we want to see. Pitbull called out Pico, and I'm into that. I am into that fight. Now, I know that goes a little under the radar. That's not quite a main event. You and I know Pico pretty well, and I think that, I think that Pitbull has now explained who he is. I think that he kind of missed when he was first in there with Yair Rodriguez. That was just a hard draw for your first night out. But there's something about that. Those guys got to pass. Those guys used to train together. I don't know where there became trouble in paradise. But if we're over here just throw matches we want to see, I hope they make Pitbull and Pico.
Yeah. Get Pico in the ring. He was supposed to fight already in this weekend, but he doesn't get him back in the ring. All right, speaking of big-time matchups, this weekend, Robert Whittaker takes on Rainier the Ritter from Abu Dhabi. Yo, your boy, your hired assassin, Rainier the Ritter, gets his chance. Hey, if this RDR gets through Robert Whittaker, we got to start talking about this man having one of the best UFC starts that we have seen from a guy coming from another organization in a very long time. I don't understand how a guy can be a 2-division champ somewhere else and then come here and not even be sniffing the championship. Normally, you're somewhere in the area of big fights that lead to a title. He beats Whittaker. Now, all of a sudden, he's on the short list of guys that could be looking at title contention.
I'll give you a quick stat. Nobody has ever beaten Robert Whittaker who couldn't call themselves world champion or immediately was given a world championship opportunity. We're even seeing that with Chimaev right now. So how big is this for De Ridder, man? I don't know if this is the one. You got Kyle Barrow, and that division is just very exciting right now. I've never seen 185 pounds so deep. They're even disputing amongst themselves who the best is and who the real champion is. And we keep looking or overlooking Dricus. And I think that's coming to an end. I think we're starting to see, okay, hey, this Dricus is really something special. But you got the undefeated Chimaev, as I was saying, with Kyle Barrow. And I just think there's a lot of very interesting parts here. And if Whittaker could go out and get this done, and Whittaker, when he came on to our season of The Ultimate Fighter and worked with my team, Daniel, it was the most productive and comprehensive hour of mixed martial arts training I have ever witnessed. Robert Whittaker is so heavy on his front foot, and it's almost like he didn't learn that on his very first day. He's the only fighter that stands on his front foot. He came in and showed us why. And it's basically so he doesn't have the weight on the back foot so he can come out and snap it out. I mean, I'm just sharing, like, this guy's understanding of mixed martial arts, not to mention Whittaker's got pride. Whittaker's coming off that loss to Chimaev. It embarrassed him. He got his jaw hurt. He got caught early. he doesn't want to be in that spot. And one thing about DeRinner is he's a lot better than he got credit for. But I do think after his win over Nickel that Whittaker is fully prepared for this outing.
Yeah, this is going to be a good fight between two super high-level mixed martial artists. But if DeRinner gets the job done, especially if he does it in impressive fashion, we really got to start thinking about him as a player. Sure, there's Chimaev, who's getting the fight next. Then there's Kyle Bahalyo, who's right in the mix. Sure, those guys are the names that we think of in terms of title contention. But if this dude beats Robert Whittaker, he should either be fighting Bahalyo next or right there, or someone that really matters. Someone that really matters to give him a title shot next. I know that Chimaev and Drakus are fighting next month, so Bahalyo, if he's smart, will probably wait, right? Say, oh, I'll take some time. I'll wait for the winner, and I'll fight them at the beginning of the next year. But that should not mean that if DeRinner can get the job done, he has to wait all the way to next summer. He needs to be fighting alongside that championship or weighing in as the backup fighter in case something happens to make sure that he's always in the conversation. And if Robert Whittaker wins,
I like where you're hitting that.
Robert Whittaker said, hey, I want one more opportunity as the championship. I'm not done yet. This guy isn't close to feeling like his time at the top of mixed martial arts is over, but he believes he can still get it done as those guys fight on ABC this weekend. Big time fight from Abu Dhabi, as they are in most cases now. Nothing.
Have a response. I mean, I felt like we put the button on it.
Nothing. Okay. Guys, that's Chael and I. We do stuff like this all the time. We do this show, and I mean, that's how
You were
good I
talking
was.
about like what if our pay and our structure changed? Apparently, I just stopped.
Yeah, you just stopped and you got his pay cuts. Chael just got his pay deductions after this. Hey, that's Chael Sonnen. I'm Daniel Cormier. Until next time, guys, peace.